Welcome to the Avram Davidson universe. Virgil and I are here. We're talking Limekiller. We're very excited about it. I'm Bob from Wheel of Genre. Who are you, Virgil?
I'm Virgil from Literally Books.
That's right. That's right. Today we're going to talk about...
That is right.
That is right.
I got it right this time. This is the 7th take. I kept saying other things.
Yeah. Who am I? Where am I? So Limekiller, we're super excited about. We did the introduction recently. Now we're going to do part 1 of Bloody Man. It's one of the bigger stories in this collection. It's a very famous story, and I think it's one of the ones that was still published while Avram was alive. One of the 2, right? This one and Manatee Gal.
That's a good. That's a great question that I don't have the answer to.
Okay.
During our Christmas special, I said I was going to give my copy of Limekiller to a family member, and I did. So unfortunately, I can't reference my own volume because I gave it away. Like I said, I love this. I love it so much. I wanted to. When usually, if I like a book a lot, I give it to somebody, and then I have to go buy it again. So I gave it. So I don't have my copy to read. So I don't know what the publication history is, but I do think this was published in his lifetime. Although I don't. Shucks, it would have been good to have the publication history handy. That's okay.
I think as far as I can remember, so this one and Manatee Gal, which should come out tonight, are the only 2 Limekiller stories. I think they were still published in his lifetime, and the rest came out because he's still working on this collection. I think it's not completely completed, and so it came out posthumously, except for these 2 stories, which were published previously. But I thought we could, we mentioned this earlier in our introduction video. There's this crazy introduction by Peter S. Beagle. Now, Virgil knows about Peter S. Beagle. I thought this was just completely made up and like as a character in the story because it's completely in character. It begins, Limekiller? Christ, of course I knew Jack Limekiller. Used to come in here all the time. Canadian, right? Canadian skinny kid. Drank Montejo Dark mostly. It's that. Like, what? What on earth is going on? Who's Peter S. Beagle?
In world, in narrative.
Yeah.
It's written like Peter S. Beagle is like himself a character in a story.
Right. Yeah.
But I guess you could also look at it as like him remembering, like taking on a persona and like remembering reading this stuff. Yes. So Peter S. Beagle is probably best known for his book, The Last Unicorn, which was also an animated movie from the 80s, which is actually a really wonderful animated movie. If you look it up and you see like the covers that are like these sort of, I don't know, like redone covers for the movie, it usually has like this very interesting art style that's not quite the art style of the film, and it makes it seem like very childish. And actually it's definitely something an adult can watch and enjoy and love. It's a really great animated movie, and the novel itself is also, which is basically standalone, is really wonderful. It's like some of my absolute favorite fantasy fiction ever. Honestly, Last Unicorn was just amazing, and there are other stories in that series, but I haven't really read very many. I've read like a little short story or something from that's set in a sort of related, or I guess you could say, but it's set much later. But Last Unicorn is like is a traditional fantasy story in a lot of ways, but really great about the Last Unicorn. Anyways, but Peter S. Beagle's a big name fantasy writer, and it was like, oh yeah, and Bob was like, you were like, oh, what's that? And I'm like, oh, you don't know, you don't know who that is. Oh, okay, which is fine. He's not, although he has published stuff recently. He had a book come out last year, like So You've Got Dragons, or I Heard You've Had Dragons, or something like. Or something like that. So, definitely, like still definitely working in the industry. Just not. Oh no, I still say you find this at Barnes and Noble, so you can. So he's still out there.
Cool. Okay, it sounds like you got dragons.
There's lots of writers to know.
Oh, lots of good writers to know. I love how he ends this introduction too, because again, I didn't know who he was, but it's really interesting how he's jumping into who Jack Limekiller is. He's telling us all these crazy things that Jack Limekiller has done, and then at the very end he says, yeah, and he still sends me postcards. Jack Limekiller, the character, still sends me postcards, and then he says, old Jack Limekiller, damn, tell him Pete says hello. So Pete,
I love it. I thought it was great.
It's really good.
It's such like perfect. It's just like a perfect little, like, somebody's like, oh, Peter S. Beagles, what is he going to say about this book? It's just like, so what a great way to express your love of something is though, like to sort of like write yourself into the narrative a little bit and sort of like say, oh, I love this stuff.
to be the barkeep in the narrative. So in the beginning, I'm hoping you can kind of help me a little bit. So I'm brand new to this story. It feels like there's two distinct parts, and that's why we have broken it up in two distinct parts. But at the very beginning, we're in Point Pleasant, or Pleasuance, I guess, in the subtropical colony of British Hidalgo. And we have a lot of characters coming to us at once, but our main character is John Limekiller, who is going to get a boat. He has never sailed that much, and he just decides, I'm going to get a boat. I'm going to go, I think, all the way from Canada down to Belize. And he's sailing there and becomes kind of just a part of the scenery there and gets embroiled into kind of a bigger mystery throughout the course of this story. But like, what's happening, Virgil? What is he seems to be going to buy materials. He seems to be trying to send telegrams, but things are not going right for him. What's going on?
Yeah, it's great. I would say if you divide this story in half, then the first half of the first half, so the first quarter of the story is very much like setting it up. Jack Limekiller, but some people do call him John.
Oh, God. Okay.
That's good.
There's a Sir Joshua too.
Joshua could be just a little bit of everything, But so this takes place in British Hidalgo, which is a fictionalized version of British Honduras, which I think is now Belize, although I'm not real up on my geography in that area. Taking place, which I don't exactly know what time in history this is supposed to be. I get the impression it's after World War I, but before World War II.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I think that's about the time period that we're in. I believe, but I could be a little bit wrong. I could be a little wrong on that, but that's the impression I get. It's hard to tell too, because there's very low. This is a very backwater area in a sense, so there's not a lot of technology. In fact, I would say that it probably is before World War II because there's a telegraph office.
Which is great.
And yeah, and it's so you get this wonderful setting. It's all like developing these settings, these different characters, and Limekiller is here, sort of like a ship's captain. He has a small boat, and he just sort of does like merchant work, like trading and stuff like that. Sort of making a living here. He's a known figure, but still slightly an outsider. He's a Canadian in South America. And I really like this because. And just the story in general, and these stories, which I've only really read the first two, to be honest. So I've only read the first two, but these stories themselves are just this like super wonderful experience because not only is it like, do you get this wonderful setup, but you also get this mystery, and you get like these sort of like history lessons, like you do with a lot of Avram stuff. And I know you get pretty far into the story before you kind of understand what's happening. Like like maybe the first 30 minutes, if you're doing audio, of the story is just sort of like setting this place up. You're exploring, you're getting these different accents, you're getting people from all different walks, cultural walks of life, right? You've got the first two characters we meet are is it a bishop? Was it a bishop or is it an archbishop and a Limekiller, right? This bishop this archbishop or bishop has retired in this area, and you get this really different dichotomy between these two. And it's just, I guess, to what I would say to somebody who's interested in reading this and who's going for a little while and is worried, like sort of like, well, where's the story going? Is it part of this story? Like, I think a lot of Avram's best stuff is like this, where it really wants you to just relax and let the story come at you. And I don't think it's much of an ask because it just pulls you in so well. I think of this story and a lot of these Limekiller stories as being like this window in your house that you've never really looked out of. And then somebody's like, hey, did you ever look out here? And they like open the curtains and open the window and you look out and you're like, I've never seen this view before. Like, I've lived here forever. And I never knew this existed, and they're like, oh yeah, it's pretty cool. And then they close it up and everything. And you're like, later on at night, you're like, oh, I want to go open that window again. I want to go back. I want to go look at that again. What's it look like right now? And it's like
Also,
that.
yeah.
It's like this. It's just this beautiful. It's just this absolutely beautiful work that he does. It's all setting up this story. It all is pertinent. Just gorgeous. And anyway, so long-winded way of saying it's really great, and just relax and enjoy it.
I was wondering what those people were doing in my home. How do they know my windows better than I do?
Right. Where did you find it?
How did you do this? You've been watching me?
We're the window committee.
Yeah, where's the window committee? Virgil, I love how you've just been talking about the setting and how we go in, we kind of establish. It's almost like playing a game almost, where you're going, you're playing an RPG and you're kind of going to ask different characters to learn a little bit about the world. They tell you a little bit about the lore. We get a hint of a supernatural thing, but it seems like just kind of an old wives' tale. There's people who are a little bit afraid of like this figure, this bloody figure, the bloody captain, whoever this is. It just seems like a fisherman's like tall tale. But to give a kind of an account of the setting, I really love this quote. It says, coconut walks or coconut groves. Coconut walks lined the land side of the road. Sluggish and frothy waves slopped lazily along the beach. Overhead, though not very much overhead, brown pelicans languidly flopped through the heavy air. So we have this totally island feel, which is really fun. And we know there's some pirate stuff coming at us, and we know there's some scary stuff at us soon. But I think another thing that was really fun was Limekiller goes to like the small government office that's here. Maybe it's the telegraph office, but he goes and there's someone who says, "Oh, can you please help us? I know you're going to go out today. Can you deliver all of these letters?" And he hands him like 5 or 6 letters. And then Limekiller starts looking at them. He's like, "Wait a minute. I know all of these addresses." And he goes, "Wait a minute. These are the telegrams I sent yesterday." And they're going to make me go and do the work.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great. So there's some great stuff that happens. So I guess the setup for the story is that this. I want to say archbishop. But
It is.
could be
It's a
bishop,
retired archbishop. There's a priest,
a
I
retired
think,
archbishop.
and then a retired archbishop. Yeah.
Yeah. So retired archbishop has a friend who's going to also come here and retire, and they want to build him a house. And Limekiller is like, "Ooh, this is good business, right? Like this is a good contract to get. This is going to be good money, right? And doing work for a very popular public figure in this area, right? Like it's good karma for me to do it. Also, it looks good for other people who want to deal with me. Like, oh, you've helped this guy, and it is in a lot of ways. And so he's going to get these building materials, except that for a variety of reasons, like there are no building materials. Some guy's got his stuff like on the top of a mountain somewhere, and somebody's got it like 60 miles up swamp or something like that, whatever it is. Like, it's like, well, like, oh, so this is like, I got 1 bag of cement, but actually it's going out in 15 minutes. That guy's show up here in just a second. So it's like all these like barriers to getting this stuff done. So then he's trying to he's like, well, maybe I'll go to another location. I'll sail up to another location or whatever and see if I can get this stuff up there. So he sends this telegrams off to these various manufacturers or whatever, or guys who would have these sort of building materials. And he's like, well, to say like, hey, oh yeah, that's right. You can't call them.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
You can't call them because they don't have a phone. So you have to call the city, which is essentially you send these telegrams off to the office and then they have to deliver them. So he does that and he's like, well, maybe I'll just go up there. And so in the process of going, so he sends it off to a guy, by the way, the telegraph office guy can't hear.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's like, what does he say? He's like, it looked like this office looked like it was something out of Victorian times, and so was the telegraph office worker or something like that. Like he had this beautiful script and everything, but it's like the guy can't hear. He says something and then he says, "Oh," he says, "Do you think they'll get these off pretty quick?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, the estate has finally been settled." And then it goes into this whole little sidebar about how there's been this legal battle been going on for he said it looked like it was like something out of Dickens. It was like this legal battle about somebody's estate that's been going on for years and years. Right? Wonderful. It doesn't matter to the story. Has no bearing on the story, except that it's absolutely perfect, set piece stuff, to give you the mood of this area and how things are, how things don't move quickly, and how things are part South American, somewhat impoverished, and also part British.
Mm-mm.
and like all mixed and all these other cultures, and it's all like just coming together in this really strange way, and nobody's in a hurry to get anything done.
Island time. There's two main British guys. I think there's Sir Joshua, and I believe that's the guy who's moving in, and they want to build him a house, right? Sir Joshua, the governor, the royal
The
governor, I
so the
believe.
so the so the governor is there. The archbishop has another there's another archbishop
Oh, okay.
who wants to
Yes,
retire,
that makes sense.
he wants to come and live there.
Okay.
He's like, "Oh, this would be a nice place to retire, right?
Mm,
It's a Christian community that where he'll be accepted, and so he wants to retire here, but the problem is that he doesn't have a place to live, and so they want to build
mm,
something. And so Joshua is like kind of like an artifact, like he in the same way that like British royalty is sort of an artifact now, like they don't
mm,
really do anything, but they're kind of important in the same sense. Like Sir Joshua is kind of important, but he
mm,
doesn't. I don't know if he exactly has much legal power per se. It's like he's almost like this figurehead that people like trust because they're so used to sort of like British control. So
mm,
so he's sort of there. I don't know. And he was a some kind of a naval captain who's very decorated,
oh,
but like they don't really care about that because they like that he has he's really good at moving a rowboat or something like that. like, oh, did you see him out in the water the other
he's a
day?
great
Oh, he's pretty
rower.
good.
Oh,
We like that guy.
put
Yeah,
him
but
on
they
the
do.
team.
They're like, oh, they appreciate this very water soaked, right? Lots of little channels, lots of little like avenues of water. It seems like in here, and they really like that this guy like knows his stuff, right?
Mm,
He isn't just a stuffy English guy. He really he's in the thick of it. He goes out and he does the work. So I don't know.
he's a
Again,
sup paddle
another
holder.
wonderful character.
Another wonderful character. I want to move on to part two soon, but is there anything else that you want to look at? I'm so interested in part two because all of this time, while all of these building things are going on, different conversations are had. There is that lore that is kind of bubbling up very slowly, and part one ends on the kind of definite answer of yes, something weird is going to happen because they say that there are these strange things that are happening, and someone just says, "Ah, it is because they are afraid of the jack-o'-lantern." And it's
Nice.
weird because it's like, who's afraid of a jack-o'-lantern? But we get kind of Avram in doing the kind of unhistory thing. He traces back to what the jack-o'-lantern is. Of course, it ends up being kind of a bit of a red herring, but it's so interesting to see kind of the spiral of lore kind of coming closer and closer to one definitive answer. But it's fun to see so many things in this whirlpool as we get pulled closer and closer to the jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, I love that. I
Mm,
love that analogy too, by the way.
mm,
It's perfect because it is like
mm,
that. And that's in a sense, that's how in the real world supernatural stuff works. It's like all these
mm,
I think Avram had a really good like sense of that like all these sort of myths sort of gets mixed together in this big pot, and especially with different cultures, and they just swirl and swirl. So essentially you've got two separate groups of people that have traditional or somewhat traditional fishing areas where they
mm.
tend to fish, and one group has moved out of
Oh, right.
their
Yep.
area and invaded another, and
Mm,
it's a problem. It's a real problem because they're like, well, they're fishing us out. Like we go to fish there, they're there all the time, and we don't have anything to catch, and it's a real issue, and it's kind of becoming like something like there's going to be something like a fight is going to break out, like there's going to
mm,
be violence or something possibly, or it's becoming an issue to the point where they're like going to the local government office or something and sort of protesting like, "Hey, what's going on here?"
mm,
And then it comes to head that they're afraid of something up there, and they say jack-o'-lantern, and then we like you say, Jack's like, "Jack-o'-lantern?" And they sort of trace down the cultural, like, precedent for what he's meant, and then it
mm,
leads, like you say, into a bunch of red herrings, but you also get to see, like, how all these weird, like, ghosts and goblin type things are all sort of, like, muddy, like, they're kind of all, like, connected,
Good.
like a spider web or something like that on different
Mm,
points in a web, and it's all sort of touching one another, and and he's sort of trying to puzzle out what they mean by this, and then also as a reader, it does a great job because it slightly puts you off center. You're a little unbalanced because you're not really sure, there's not a definitive, like, it's not like, I don't know, like a video game or like in D&D or something like that, right? Where it's
Mm,
like, oh, it's a this monster. It's like, we don't really know what it is. It's like, it
mm,
doesn't, there's no, who can say what it is? We have all these words to use that relate to it, but what is it really that is scaring them? And is it even real? Because Jack isn't even, in fact, they don't even want to talk about it. Nobody even
mm.
wants to say, somebody tries to talk about it and people get mad. And
Yeah,
I
like
think somebody gets
Voldemort.
punched at some point trying to relate their information to Jack. And it's like, shut
Mm,
up. We don't talk about that.
yeah.
You know, like it's superstition and also sort of embarrassing.
Mm.
And it's so good. It's this very interesting thing. And he's sort of like, well, I need to go get this stuff, and nobody where he needs to go is close to this area through these waters that nobody really wants to go through to get these building materials.
Shall we continue into the spiral, the Uzumaki, Virgil?
It was lucky. Yeah, that's right.
Uzumaki.
It's a wonderful analogy, by the way. It really is good.
That's what it feels like. It feels like we're getting sucked into the whirlpool.
Mhm.
Old Charybdis. Are you ready for part 2? Should we jump into part 2? Because it gets pretty
I think we should
supernatural
do
pretty quick.
both feet.
Okay.
Walk the
Okay,
plank.
Woo! Walk the
Woo!
plank. Splash.
Whoosh.